Hello everyone and welcome to another video, and this one was one of the craziest races that I've ever done in GT7, and it was, I have absolutely no words, so it's best for you to watch the video. Yeah, we are going through the qualifying session right here, and you know, the session was kind of okay. I mean, the track was supposed to get dry in just about a couple of minutes, and I really didn't know which tires to put on, so I put the racing hard tires, but yeah, then I realized that if I get onto the track like a couple of minutes later, the track will eventually dry out, and so it did. I went back into the pits, and just about I would say 1.5 minutes in, I got onto the track. There was absolutely no rain on the radar, maybe a little tap right there, but nothing too much, and I had a kind of a clean and dry track just in front of me, and there was pretty much nothing stopping me from getting a good result, except when you get into the carousel like this one. Yeah, just first gear, second, and I lost it. So I think I lost about 2.5, maybe even 3 seconds, and here you can see my reaction right there, which wasn't the best. And this qualifying session got me into the P10 on the starting grid, but what happened later was just absolutely insane. No one in this lobby knew that this was gonna be a wet race from the beginning. No one. I mean, especially all of us guys that actually qualified, they're kind of in a decent spot, but the couple of guys that actually had nothing to lose, they decided to put the intermediates on. And you can see how my race started, and pretty much how it started for all of us. And there was absolutely nothing much that you can do. You're on hard tires and it's raining, and you can see the car was sliding so much. I mean, there was absolutely no way of staying on the track. Maybe kind of on the dry line, but if you just touched the outside of the curb or whatever it was, eventually you're gonna go sliding into the wall, or you eventually lose control. So it was basically first, second gear, maybe up to third gear, use the dry line as much as you can, and just avoid the curbs. I mean, sometimes, okay, you need to use the curbs, but eventually it was just about staying on the track, nothing much to do, and yellow flags all around the place. I even tried to go for a move in here, tapped Brad right in front of me. But there was absolutely no way of knowing if you're gonna stay on the track or not, and the rain was not stopping at this point, so it was eventually getting even heavier rain, which, you know, even made my race a lot worse than it was. And if you wondered what the other guys or the top 3 eventually did in this race, because this was mostly a battle for P4 by the end, they put intermediates. And just look at this. This was just like driving through a park without any obstacles. It's basically like you're playing a Mario Kart. You're just avoiding obstacles, and eventually you want to get into those top 3 places. And, you know, just when I was watching this replay, I thought to myself, why didn't I put the intermediates? Why? Just like, I asked myself that like a couple of times. But there was really no way of knowing. 200 IQ strategy right here.
Ooh. There we go, P15, P14. A lot of yellow flags. What is going on?
And exactly that. What was going on in this race? I just tried to really avoid the curbs. Okay, sometimes, just as I said before, you need to use them, and I think everyone at one point made a mistake in this one, except for the first 3 guys. So, going past Patrick Blažan right here on the right, and it's just, look at this. Everyone, absolutely everyone was going wide. There's no words about this whole situation. So this wasn't a tap, he spun on his own, he was ghosted. So at that point I thought, okay, maybe I tapped him, but eventually he was ghosted, and there was nothing much that I could have done about that. So into P10, so the race started in P10, I got down into P16, getting back into the P10, and now it's all about staying on the track. But once again, it's P9. We're kind of looking at P8, maybe. Will it be P8? But not really. I just want to stay on this dry line. You will see why right about here. I tried to go to the left side, but it's not a very smart idea in these conditions, because you can see the car almost immediately starts going wide. So there is no point of just trying to go for a move. You have to stay in the line and try to do your best to stay on the track. That's it. Fento, kind of an unfortunate contact that I had right here. That was absolutely non-intentional, but I had hits from behind, I had hits from all around the place, hitting the brakes, but the car, it was undrivable, and there was nothing much that I could have done to stop it. Maybe I should have braked a little bit earlier, but we are running hard tires in this wet race. And once again, you can see just, you know, all of the guys around the place going outside of the track, eventually doing something that is going to compromise their own race. And somehow I got myself into P5. Jack eventually got this place on me. And just look at this. I mean, 150 kilometers per hour. I think I was speeding. I was going too quickly, and then, yeah, spinning out.
There is just no way of knowing.
Absolutely no grip, and I said it a couple of times, there is absolutely no way that you can know you're gonna spin. So somehow I got myself back into the game, P13, and we are all into this kind of straight line, little snake thing, or whatever you want to call this. But yeah, it's all about staying on the track. Jack kind of didn't do that. Gina trying to go for that move on the right, but of course it's wet. There is no way. There is absolutely no way of doing that. Damien once again lost the control of the car, but my car was a complete rocket in the straight line, and there is pretty much nothing that you can do to stop it. Even if you're in the slipstream, my 4GT will be eventually the quickest car out there. The acceleration isn't really the best. All of the other features of this car are not the great, but you know, when it comes to straight line speed, it's amazing. It's just an amazing car in the straight line. But I really didn't want to do much here. I just wanted to kind of follow the guys in front because I was in P9. The race wasn't really looking that bad from this point. I mean, it could have been doing a lot better, but you know, this is just limitation of the damage that I'd done before. So the point was to start on the mediums, and there was, yeah, that was high risk involved into that, and a couple of guys actually went into the pits. I don't think that was a great idea, because why would you now? The track is drying out, you're just going to lose a lot of time on those intermediates, and eventually when the track dries out, you will destroy your intermediate tires. Okay, two guys going wide, and just as I said a couple of times in this video already, if you go off this dry line, you can see this dry line forming, you will start to lose grip, and eventually you will go wide. So I was braking a lot sooner than usual, didn't use the curbs as much, but once again my rocket ship was just flying on the track. I took that risk, I went for the outside, and that Porsche had absolutely nothing much that he could have done there. It was, yeah, it was just an easy pass for me right here. Straight line speed advantage, and that's it. So now Brea in P5, just I'm gonna go back to the beginning. So I started in P10, going down to the last place on the grid, going back into P4, going back to P14, and eventually getting myself into P6 at this point. So it was like a roller coaster, and it all happened in just about maybe 5, 6, maybe even 7 minutes, who knows. But eventually I kind of stayed on the track, but Brea pulled up the gap that was 1.4 seconds. But there was nothing much that he could have done in here, and by the end of the straight I got him, and I went for the move, and we could see some rain out there, but it was very, very light rain, so I really didn't want to change the tires. There was no point, really, there was absolutely no point of changing to the intermediates, because yeah, nothing much that you can do about it. So I stayed out and just wanted to see what can happen out of this. But then I got a little bit greedy, getting on the curb right there, and there was no way that I could have stopped that car. So as soon as I touched that curb, the car was just spinning out, and then once again I touched the wet side of the track, and yeah, that was pretty much game over for me. Luckily it wasn't much of a damage, so I was able to carry on. But once again I kind of got to no, and once again it was an easy move on the outside. My rocket ship doing its own thing once again, and you know, we are on the chase now, because the goal here now is not to finish in the top 3 or to win this race. The goal is to finish in P4, because this is pretty much the only place that you can get. A couple of other guys in front went into the pits. I think they put the hard tires on, and so I decided to go into the pits and do my own strategy, but I decided to put the hard tires on, because yeah, there was a bit of a risk. I maybe should have been out for one more lap, but I refueled the car, put the hard tires on, and it proved out to be a good decision. So going from this kind of, I would say, a dive on Brad, I mean, he eventually gave me a lot more space than he should have, but I mean, appreciate that. Thank you very much for that. And kind of got myself promoted into P7, and at this point I knew Brea was saving fuel, and I even had a look at the replay later. He was saving so much fuel in this race, so basically I think he got even like a couple of seconds into the pits because he basically didn't even have to refuel that much.
He's off,
but once again, no going off the track, and yeah, there is really nothing much to do if you just go wide a little bit. You know, the outside of the track is usually wet, even in these conditions. So the track was really tough, and somehow I got myself into P6 doing the last lap, and Brea in like literally the last lap, after almost an hour of driving, he crashed into this one. But then I had another problem, and that problem was the fuel. So you can see 7% of fuel to finish pretty much half of the Nordschleife lap, which just wasn't enough. So I put the fuel map into map 6, which is all the way like the slowest option out there. P5 at this point. And you can see the gap to the lead. Look at the lap to the lead. It was 1.5 minutes. It's not in seconds, that's minutes. And now No is chasing me because there is really nothing much that I could have done. But then I realized, or actually I realized this a lot later than I should have realized this. We had about 22 seconds to go, so this means that if I go for a move now, I will eventually finish in front of him, but we are not going to be able to cross the finish line. We are not going to be able to finish the race. The timer is going to get us. So flat out, we're going in lean fuel mode whenever I can. 3 seconds to go, and if I can keep my place, we are going to be P5. And this was my reaction because I really didn't realize that...
It's the end of the race! It's the end of the race! Because the winner finished like 2 minutes in front of everybody. We never had the time to finish. I have no idea what to think about this race now, guys. I have absolutely no words.